Okay. Yo, what's going on? What's going on, y'all? I actually been up since about 6 this morning. So I wanted to start reading on this book again. So I got some coffee, found some music, and yeah, I'm ready to go. We gonna get right back into this. And last we left off, Calamas had been found, and now a whole town might be in trouble because of it. And I'm guessing the goal now is to try to escape and not get caught. If you can, appreciate as always those who come by. I'm just gonna have the music going. We just gonna read for a bit and keep going. I'm a gun for try to end chapter one today. Let's go for that. Okay, so left off right here at the mark where it's at. So just like what you see. I'll try to look at chat and stuff like that, but for the most part, I'll be reading and letting this music play. Every once in a while, you're gonna see me drinking this. Cause like I said, I haven't even had my coffee yet. All right, I'm still kind of new to this, so I'm just kind of going with it. So you guys excuse me too. All right, here we go, y'all. Turek led his family to the stables. His wife held the princess, and his son carried what little supplies he had been able to gather. They made their way to the stable where they found a horse, a completely different animal than the one they had seen from the night before. It stood strong as if ready to run at an enemy army if necessary. Turco quickly saddled it, placing the provisions on its back. Martha took the princess and put her in a bag and placed it on the saddle. Then he helped his son onto the horse. Benlel held out a hand for him as if to help him up onto the horse as well. Turco looked at the hand and smiled. I'm sorry, son, I can't. What? The boy said. Come on, father, this animal is big enough to support all three of us. Not quickly, lad, you need to go alone. Benel looked towards Martha as if to plead her to talk some sense into him. Martha smiled a sad smile in return. Your father is right, son, she said. Benno looked at her with eyes full of sadness and betrayal. No, you. I refuse to go without you. Zuko grabbed his son's leg gently. Lad, you're a man now. You need to escape. You and the babe. Protect her. She is our princess. I know this is a lot to put on you, and I wish there were time to explain, but there just isn't. If you die here, no one will be able to remember us. If you live, you'll be able to take on that legacy. Benno's eyes were wet, but he could see that the lad refused to let even a single tear roll. The lad nodded with a stern lip. Good lad. Turek felt tears well up in his own eyes, but were able to push them back. This was goodbye. Son, I love you. And I too, Mata said. She had been unable to hold back her own tears, but she managed to keep her voice steady. I know I love you both too, Benel replied. Turek slapped the horse Frank and the animal reared before bolting out the stable and down the road. Gort watched from a distance as he saw a boy on a horse leaving the village on the opposite side of the magical barrier the unexpected fighter had summoned. By the goblin gods, he said with a grunt. He couldn't allow the boy to escape. It would make him look like the fool to the goblins. Without another thought, Grunt took off for the boy around the barrier. His Dernwolf dashed with such agility that it cleared the barrier and was on the horse's trail in a matter of seconds. Dernwolves were faster than horses, but they had a lot less stamina. Gort would need to end his chase quickly or fail. Finner cleared the village, tears streaming from his face. He knew that he would never see his parents again, and for that, the fiends would pay. The horse ran with speed faster than any horse he had ever rode before. It was hurt. Something. It was the sound of an animal running, but it wasn't the horse. Instead, the sound of was coming from behind him. Benno glanced back to see an armored orc atop of the back of a massive wolf. Benno didn't fear. No panic, only anger. You think I'll just go down that easily, don't you? He said. Benno reached into a bag. It was his own personal bag. He rummaged inside before removing a bow and several arrows. He had spent hours with the bow and was the best marksman he knew. He had once met a traveling elf who taught him he was the most talented youth, elf or human. He had even seen use a bow. Now was the time to put the talent of hours of practice to the test. Grunt had soon caught up to the boy faster than he expected. He smiled with demonic glare at his success. However, he noticed the boy on the horse doing something. Suddenly, the boy bent backwards and a sharp pain shot through Grunt's arm. Grunt looked at it and saw an arrow stuck in his mail. The arrow had merely grazed his arm through the mail, but it was still a shock. Grunt pieced together what had happened just in time to dodge a second arrow from the boy. This one barely missing a whistling past his ear. Grunt grunted, then smiled. This chase was starting to get interesting. Grunt maneuvered his mount to avoid arrow after arrow. The boy was good, but Grunt was still better. Grunt moved to dodge another arrow, but felt a sharp pain course through his arm. He grabbed at the pain and felt the shaft of an arrow. That demon cursed lad had loosed two arrows, one to severe at a distraction, the other to actually hit him. Grunt's eagerness faded to annoyance. The boy was beginning to test his patience. Suddenly, Grunt began to notice the distance between him and the boy increased. His mount was losing speed. Grunt cursed he had to do something to end this chase, and to do so quickly. Simple enough when you weren't having to dodge shiny arrows. Grunt took his mount off the trail and ended up ridge that had appeared to the side of the road. His mount rode up at the ridge. Getting higher and higher, Grunt went up to the ridge to a dead and fallen tree. The Derwent ran to the edge of the dead tree and leaped off the ridge towards the horse. Grunt smiled. The boy had been good, but it was all over now. The Dern wolf sailed into the air towards the horse, claws outstretched. Everything seemed to move in slow motion as the lad's eye grew wide. Then suddenly Grunt was struck by something in the head and was knocked off his mount. Grunt found himself staring up into the sky. The wind knocked out of him. What in seven had just happened? He sat up, noticing his helm laid a meteor away. He picked it up and saw a sizable dent in his forehead. Grunt pieced together the memory of what had happened. The boy had managed to loose an arrow at him, and he had managed to hit him square between the eyes. An impressive shot, one which would have easily killed him had the boy been using a proper armor-piercing arrow. Grunt turned to see his mount, the look of disappointment in its eyes, and was that a bag in his mouth? Grunt grabbed the bag. His mount must have snagged it off the horse when he had fallen. He looked inside and couldn't help but feel his own disgust at what he saw. Calamancer saw the horse clear the hill behind him. He smiled to himself. Take care, Dino. May we meet again after this life. Calamancer took his weapon and pulled it from the ground. Almost immediately, the barrier dispersed and the goblins attacked. Calamancer charged, swinging his blade and felling two of the goblins before spinning and filling another two. More of the goblins jumped towards him. He quickly spun, blocking a blow from one of the pointed gauntlets and redirecting it to another gauntlet. Suddenly, a sharp pain shot up Gauntlet's leg. He looked down to see the shaft of a bolt sticking out of it. That's when he noticed the small crossbows on each of the goblins' forearm. Another goblin fired a bolt, but Calamancer swatted it from the air. The pain in his legs smeared as he spun. Was this thing poisoned? There was no way a normal bolt would cause so much pain. Calamancer continued fleeing goblin after goblin, but soon he took another bolt, then another. If only he had been wearing his armor. Calamancer continued, his moves starting to get sloppy and sluggish as he felt his flesh burn with pain. Calamancer roared to the sky and drove his sword into the ground. Cracks of light shot around him, sending nearby goblins into the air in a grayscale of black blood and flesh. Calamancer paused to catch his breath and soon realized the goblins were holding back, waiting. Is that all you have? He taunted. The goblins ignored him. That's when he saw their eyes, the hunger for his blood. Calamancer had seen that look before. It was a desire to strike. The goblins hadn't stopped on their own. They had been ordered to stop. Calamancer looked around for the being that had given the order to cease the attack. His heart sank and leapt with fear when he saw the being that stood before him was one he had only seen in his nightmare, the Dark Lord Raxterian. The hulking figure walked commandingly, each footfall sounding like a hammer on the ground. Then suddenly, to Calamance's surprise, he talked. Impressive, the demonic lord booped. Not many could withstand the stick jag so effortlessly. Calamance's breath was heavy. The poison was starting to affect his vision, which had begun to blur and spin. I will give you the honor of a quick death, Luxicon, the Dark Lord said. The King of Fiends approached, but Calamance wouldn't go down that easily. He brought his sword up for a strike in. Rextrin delivered a swift punch to Calamander's stomach. Calamancer fell, coughing up blood. He steadied himself with his sword, the light from the blade flickering. With all his strength, he lashed forward, but another blow came, this time at his ribs. Calamancer felt the bones crack, and he immediately began to cough and sputter. He used his sword to stand. The image of the Dark Lord stepped forward, and Calamancer lunged. However, the King of Fiends seemed to flash out of the way, then appeared to his side. The Dark Lord used one of his boots to push Calamancer down to the ground with terrifying speed. Calamancer felt pain rush through his ribs as the Dark Lord pinned him to the ground. He squirmed and writhed in pain before giving up and accepting his fate. His fight was over. Is that all you have? Rexington said with disgust. Just kill me, Calamancer said indigently, coughing up some more blood. I'm done being your mouse. The Dark Lord let out a grumble of what Calamancer could only describe as disappointment. The King of Fiends soon moved a maul boot over his head. Calamancer closed his eyes awaiting his own death. Tuco turned away at the sound of the crunch that was the end of Lexington. He held his wife. I love you, darling, always have, he said. I know, darling, she replied. He held her heart surprisingly calm. He wasn't certain, but he felt that Bennett would be just fine. Gort walked back to the village, his darn wolf trailing behind. He was carrying a bag. A filthy human babe was fast asleep inside. Gort was surprised the babe had stayed asleep the entire time. He hoped it was dead, but he knew his luck wouldn't be that good. At least the thing didn't start making that shrill shriek all of them did. His luck was good for that. If it had, he wouldn't have been able to stop himself from killing the thing on the spot. But he wouldn't do that. The fact was the village didn't offer much in the way of plunder, but the babe would be a nice meal for the stick jag. It wasn't too often that they got a babe. Grudge saw smoke over the next hill. The village raid must have been complete. Good thing, too, that battle mage earlier had appeared to be a lexicon. He wondered if the stick jag would have been able to handle him even if it was just the one. Even more the excuse to reward them as foul as they were. Grump made his way back to the village. The village was ablaze up on the hill outside of the village. He saw the goblins encamped around cooking fires. As he approached, he saw piles of bones around the fires. One of the goblins came towards him with hungered eyes. Did you slay the man horse? Grump moved to himself. Man horse, what a stupid way to describe a rider. Of course I did. Grunt lied. Rejoice, I'll go collect a beat better than these old bones any. Not so fast, Grunt said. That meat is no more. It went to my pup. Grunt patted his parrot to make the lie seem all the more real. The goblin looked to the ground in disappointment. Darn wolves always get the good meat. Now, don't fret. They don't always get the best meat. The goblin looked at him with firm confusion, and he held up the babe. Almost immediately, a crowd of goblins amassed around Gulp, mouths dripping with saliva. Where'd you get it? One of the goblins said hungrily. Found it with the man horse. Anyway, I decided to save this for you, my good troops. Do we get to share it? One of the goblins asked. An idea popped into Grunt's head. No, he replied. It's a reward, a contest. Whoever is the strongest gets the babe all to himself. The goblins glanced in glee and excitement. Fight for it. The last stick jag standing gets the babe. Just don't kill each other. What he needed right now was some wholesome entertainment. The goblins immediately started to brawl, kicking up dust as they savagely beat one another for the babe. The Dark Lord sat on a boulder contemplating why he had felt the need to come to this village. As the captain had said, the village possessed no strategic value. He had simply been following his systems. What had he felt exactly? Potential? That's what it was. The potential of something to be even stronger than he was. The lexicon had been surprisingly but ultimately weak, just like the rest of them. Had he been able to conquer the fiends before? Had they been weaker than he remembered? This trip was a disappointment. Suddenly, the Dark Lord heard a commotion coming from the Goblin encampment. He looked in the direction with irritation, then he felt it again. The potential was coming from the Goblin camp. Rex Tyrion dashed towards the commotion as quick as his feet could take him. He saw the goblins engaged in a brawl, but who were they fighting? He would soon find out. Grunt was amused by the brawl, but when he glanced to his left, the blood drained from his face. There he saw the Dark Lords sprinting in their direction. Panic Grunt tried to break up the brawl, but to little success. By the 7, this was where he died. He knew it. The Dark Lord arrived at the brawl, but was still unable to see what they were fighting. Cease, he said. Almost immediately the goblins froze as well as the orc captain among them. They looked at him with fear, their senses remaining as they had been in a mid-brawl. They had been fighting one another. This was puzzling. Was the potential a goblin? No, that wasn't it. Why were you fighting each other, he asked. A frightened goblin spoke up, his limbs trembling. We was fighting to seize who get the babe. The goblin pointed at a bundle of cloth in the captain's left hand. No, not a cloth, a baby. A human baby. Give me the child, Rexidin commanded. The captain presented the baby and he took it. He stared at the child as it peacefully slept in his gauntlet's arms. He didn't understand it was just a baby. Then he saw it again. Rexidin's breath was taken away as he saw the potential this child had. It was a flash, a quick glimpse into the future, but it was clear as any premonition he had ever seen. She would become more powerful than any creature he knew. Rexton felt himself smile. This was just too perfect. A child. How the oracle could have made him feel like a fool, yet this excited at the same time was a testament to how true her powers were. A child was still untamed. She could be molded to his needs as easily as molten iron. Only she become more powerful a weapon than any created. Rexton walked away from the goblins. Everything was clear. He had his answer. He held his future in his hands. He had finally found his apprentice. Yo, that's the end of chapter 1. Um, the chapter third, the title of the chapter 2 is The Child Apprentice. That's the title of chapter 2. Um, this coffee good too. Hey, I appreciate y'all coming by for this. Just a quick stream. Wanted to finish chapter 1 today. Um, we will be starting chapter 2 soon. We want to come back, play a little music, and get some to read in. But this morning, I'm grateful y'all come by, even like I said, even for 5 minutes. Uh, like what you see, please do give me a like, comment, subscribe. Y'all take care of each other, stay out of bad trouble. Do as well. Also check out my other content that I have going on. Also the link to this book is in fact in the description as well. We out of here, y'all. Until next time. Have a good one.